Alright, what's going on, Giants fans? This is the Week 1 offensive line report. We're going to be doing this every week. It's going to have breakdowns of each individual offensive lineman and how I felt about their game. As a whole, the offensive line came under fire, and kind of deservedly so. We'll try and break some stuff down, but as a whole, it wasn't good, especially from the center to the right tackle spot. But I will say, the tight ends, Saquon Barkley, did this offensive line no favors. I mean, Lolo had some really bad plays. I included in one of the breakdowns. Saquon Barkley, his blocking has been a topic of discussion. Evan Ingram, it was brutal at times for Evan Ingram. And they were running these 3 tight end sets where sometimes the O-line did its job, but the tight ends just flat out didn't. And they had an extra guy in the box on the backside, Bud Dupree, and made this offensive line look worse than it was, like just flat out. But we'll start with the good. I'm a positive person. We'll start with the good and finish with the bad. Andrew Thomas. I counted 2 mistakes from Andrew Thomas. One was on technically the first drive after the muff punt on 2nd and goal. Bud Dupree beats him off the edge. TJ Watt gets there before Dupree, but it was just a bad play by Thomas. After that, man, he was rock solid. There was one other mistake where him and Hernandez got split in a double team in the pass protection, but he was a beast. He shut down Bud Dupree when he was locked up on the passing stuff. I know ESPN saw Bud Dupree making plays off the backside, but those were just designed leaving a guy unblocked on the backside. That wasn't on Thomas at all. Thomas balled out. What I am bothered by is that we didn't run behind him. We ran behind the left side of the offensive line twice. Once with Saquon, once with Dion Lewis. Let him and Hernandez maul, man. But I'll show in this breakdown in a second that Thomas came ready to play, and especially on third downs and stuff when Bud Dupree was able to pin his ears back. So watch Andrew Thomas on this play. The first third down of the game, he's going up against Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree was supposed to eat this guy's lunch, but he handled him all game. This is a third down. You know you're getting a passing situation. Bud Dupree gets to do whatever he wants. Bud Dupree's good at reading things and redirecting. But Thomas, first of all, gets a good first kick slide. Keeps his feet square. Doesn't leave that open. Doesn't open his hips because he thinks Bud Dupree is going to speed rush him so he doesn't get beat inside. And then the punch, you would like that to be a little more inside, but nonetheless, gets a good punch on him and then just locks him up. I mean, Jones is holding on to the ball, and he just locks him up. I mean, that's an awesome rep from Andrew Thomas. So good stuff from Andrew Thomas. Second best game, Will Hernandez. And he played good. I saw people slandering Will Hernandez. I flat out don't understand it. Will Hernandez played really well. I think he was credited by 4 pressures. 2 of those, one, he saved the play. And I'll show it to you on the Nick Gates portion. But he saves the play. And on the one in the second I'll show is just was unavoidable. But he played really well. He didn't make mental mistakes. Like I said before, him and Andrew Thomas were picking up stunts. It was good stuff. And he was matched up against Cam Hayward for a good chunk of this game. And like I said before, Nate Solder and Will Hernandez could not pick up stunts. It was so frustrating. They could not pick up the simplest of stunts. Him and Andrew Thomas worked those perfectly. Like I said with Andrew Thomas, run behind those 2 guys. Give them a chance to be good run blockers. Check it out. So on this play, the Steelers end up running a stunt, but it's kind of a long developing stunt, and that's why it is successful. It's a good play by the Steelers. But watch. Hernandez is locked up on Hayward. Hayward is his responsibility. Now, you would have wanted Gates to come here, but he's watching TJ Watt, and he makes the right decision because TJ Watt is redirecting. And yes, Zeiler does a good job, but on this play, you want to protect TJ Watt. And then on this side, they do a very nicely timed stunt. It's a little long developing, but Dupree plays it perfectly, then shoots inside at the right time, and then Hayward goes out. So, but Hernandez can't loop around like that. And it ends up being a pressure on Jones. But because it's a long developing play, this is 3rd and 11. This was 3rd and 11. But Jones is able to get the first down because it's a long developing stunt. So when you just they mess up the stunt, it's like, well, no, they did a really good stunt. But because it's such a long developing stunt for it to work like that, it takes some time. Jones on 3rd 11 is able to deliver a dart to Sterling Shepard, and it's a first down. Next on the list is Cam Fleming. He came under the most heat, including from myself, but I think he had the third best game, especially when you factor in expectations. We kind of knew who Cam Fleming was going into this game, and then him going against TJ Watt. He had some really nice reps against TJ Watt. Now, granted, I counted him with 7 mistakes. Gates had 7 and Zeiler had 8. We'll talk about that. But he wasn't horrible in the run game. A lot of it was the tight ends screwing up. And I'll show you on a play where Fleming does mess up that the tight ends are the ones who blow up the play. So, wasn't as bad as I thought. The thing is with Cam Fleming, when he made mistakes, and you'll see on the breakdown, he made them the loudest. His mistakes were the worst on the offensive line. They were the most noticeable. And that does pump it up like what you did because it matters. It matters what the result of a play is because there's mistakes that were made where the Giants got a first down. But Cam Fleming's were the loudest, and they were on third downs and on big plays. So I thought he did an all right job with TJ Watt for like 75% of the game, but then there's just times where he just gets totally blown up and makes mental mistakes. So let's check it out. This run, Cam Fleming gets beat, but it's also a good example of how the tight end screwed a lot of these plays, and especially Toilolo. So he gets beat inside. Just gets beat. Just gets beat by a better player. Like, I can't get mad at Cam Fleming. Like, he wasn't brought in to be the right tackle. He just gets beat by a better player inside. But where the play really gets screwed is, watch these three. You got 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Caden Smith and Evan Ingram do a good job of moving up on this guy to there. And then Toilolo just never comes off. And then this is who makes the play. And you see Toilolo realizes it. Watch his foot. He realizes he made a mistake. He's got to come off there because that's, even though Cam Fleming gets beat on this play, that's the play that beats the play. This was the second run of the game, and Cam Fleming and Kevin Zeitler are working a double team from 91 to 98, and Cam Fleming just leaves it a little too early. You want number 98 to make the decision. Now, he makes a really good play on it. He plays it smart, but you want him to make the decision. So they're doubling. Fleming leaves, but he's still right behind. You want him to make that decision to either flow hard or cut back so Zeitler can leave off. As soon as Cam Fleming comes off, 98 comes back in the backfield, makes a play. So you want to see him just be a little more patient with that double team. On this play, I'm not sure what the protection is. Part of me thinks it's a slide protection because everyone moves left from right guard to left tackle. But the other part is Gallman, it seems like his responsibility is 55, and then if 55 drops out, he's supposed to go for a route. But the reason I think it is slide protection is because Fleming is just so indecisive. And if you're going to make a mistake, you got to make it at 100 miles per hour. This is the play that got Jones lit up. What do you... that's why it makes me think it's supposed to be slide protection, and then he comes out here. At this point, man, you just got to ride with 92 and hope Gallman picks this up. You just got to ride. But he tries to turn around. I mean, I just don't know what he's doing there. Make a decision. Mistakes will happen, but make the mistake at 100 miles an hour. That's what makes me think it's a slide protection, though. That's like, for what reason would he think that he needs to spin around and stop this guy? Which he didn't, and he gets Jones lit up. Now with Nick Gates, I think he had the 4th best or 2nd worst, whichever way you want to look at it. I counted him with 7 mistakes, and I've been big on the Nick Gates train. I still do have faith in him. There was a couple of times where he was beat physically, and there was a few times where he was beat mentally. We'll go through it in a second, but here's my thing. We're excited about Andrew Thomas because he showed what he showed at Georgia. Cam Fleming we're down on because we kind of knew who he was in Dallas. He wasn't that good of a player. And Kevin Zeitler we'll get to. I hope I'm not worried about Kevin Zeitler going forward. But Nick Gates, it was his first game at center. This is a guy who played guard and tackle, and every time he played last season, he was the most impressive offensive line. He was 3 for 3 in his games. So he's playing his first game at center, and he played bad. I thought it wasn't as bad at first. I went back and looked at it. He had a bad game. That being said, as bad as he played, it was not as bad as Spencer Pulley versus the Jets. I know that's not a very high bar, but it was not as bad as Spencer Pulley versus the Jets. So you got to have patience with this guy. Now, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe you can figure it out, but I think he has a chance to be a long-term center for the New York Giants. I think moving him to right tackle and Pulley at center is short-sighted. One, because we think Parrott is going to come and play right tackle eventually, whether it's later this year or next year. So, and then we're using a good offensive lineman on the bench. Now, maybe he's Zeitler's replacement if Zeitler has fallen off some cliff. But have some patience with this guy. If it doesn't work, we just move him back to that guard tackle spot. But I do have faith in Nick Gates. It was his first game. Have some patience. So Gates had some good and some bad mentally. We'll start with the good. This is a stunt by number 91 Hayward and 94, and he does about as good of a job as you can do with a stunt. So 94 is trying to wash this way. Gates pushes him, and he basically puts him in Kevin Zeitler's lap. Zeitler does a good job on this play, but he puts him in his lap, and then as soon as he's passed off, 91's looping around, comes off of it. Comes off of it and squares up. Comes off of it and squares up. Jones gets the ball out for a completion. First down. Now, this was one of the more impressive plays by Daniel Jones, which you'll see, but this little rover, joker, backer, he's roving around. Last second, hits here. Gates, you gotta realize you have two people to the left. That has to be his pickup. He doesn't pick it up. He just doesn't pick it up. And then he comes back this way. So I do like when you make a mistake to not, turn, like a lot of offensive linemen just turn around and throw their hands up. But Hernandez ends up saving him on this. Hernandez comes and puts his hand on him. Ends up tripping him up a little bit. Not on purpose. But nonetheless, gets him to the ground and then comes back on this guy. So Hernandez, that looks like a Hernandez pressure. That's an awesome job by Will Hernandez on this play. Will Hernandez saves this play, and paired with the fact that we have a cold-blooded quarterback who just hangs in there. That just hangs in there and makes the play for a first down. And we'll finish off with Kevin Zeitler, who I thought had the worst game. Definitely his worst game as a New York Giant. When you watch his stuff last year, you maybe found one, maybe two mistakes, but he was flawless as a player. There was never a time where you were frustrated with Kevin Zeitler. But man, I don't know what happened with him. I have to think that this is just one game where he's between Cam Fleming and Nick Gates playing his first game at center. I have to think that. I refuse to believe that he just had a drop-off. But it was really bad. I've never seen him play this bad. I didn't watch him in Cleveland and Cincinnati, but I'm sure with the reputation he had, he didn't have a game this bad. So I refuse to believe this guy just fell off a cliff. He's a hard worker. He works like a madman in the offseason. It's crazy the stuff he kind of does. So I just refuse to believe he's washed. But let's check out a couple plays. Play one is the play where Jones fumbles but doesn't fumble. Now, granted, this was Andrew Thomas's one of two bad plays in this game. And like I said before, the tight ends made the offensive line look worse than it was because Evan Ingram gets totally beat. Granted, you probably don't want Ingram one-on-one with TJ Watt. But watch Zeiler. It's a play action. Barkley ends up picking the block up on a cut block. And 91 just swims him. Just a clean swim. Zeitler doesn't do that, man. Zeitler doesn't make those mistakes. Like I said, if he did this in 2019, it was like one time in a game, and it didn't happen again. And Saquon does a bad job of blocking. Ingram does a really bad job of blocking, but we also don't want Ingram blocking TJ Watt. And then Andrew Thomas has his only one-on-one bad play. The other one was a double with Hernandez. And then here we have another mental mistake. This is a train run. So they are leaving this guy unblocked and this guy unblocked play side. Kevin Zeitler and Caden Smith one of them has to block Dupree. One of them has to block there. The reason I think Zeitler is the one who made the mistake is because he's the one who acts like he made a mistake. He acts like he made a mistake here. They're both looking inside at this guy. It's like they're not expecting Dupree to be there. But Caden's eyes never come off of here. Zeitler, there's no way he would know that Caden wasn't doing his job if that was his job. And then last second he bounces off there and it ends up being a play. If Zeitler is just hitting it at an angle and not looking up here, he's able to wash Dupree. It's close, but he's able to wash Dupree. Or at least possibly wash Dupree. Dupree's a beast on that kind of stuff. All right, so an up and down day for the offensive line. More down, but we move on to Chicago. I think improvements can be made, especially with the way we use our tight ends, especially with Saquon. Zeitler, we don't expect him to play like that. Gates, we expect to only improve from here. Thomas, keep being a beast. Hernandez, keep doing you. Play even better. So, hope you liked the video. This was week 1, so I'll get better, just like the offensive line. We'll get better as we roll, baby. Appreciate you guys. Let's go Big Blue.